I'm going to turn this into this in 27 minutes or less. Will I finish in time? Or will I have to hit the turbo button? You can create along with me or just relax and watch. I'm Gina Murrow, the 27-minute artist. When I was a little girl, novelty songs were all over the radio. And one of my favorites was One-Eyed, One-Horned, Flying Purple People Eater. Since I didn't have my camera handy the last time I saw one, I asked my AI generator to create one. To make our Flying Purple People Eater, you will need these supplies. The scariest part about art for most people is the drawing. I'm going to show you some techniques today that will take a lot of the scare out of it, despite the fact we're doing a monster. Especially if you're drawing with kids or people who haven't drawn before, these are some easy techniques to make it more fun. So we're going to start with some tools. I collected a series of round shapes for our one-eyed, one-horned flying purple people eater, and we're going to use those to draw these bigger shapes. First, we'll start off with a marker, just a regular Sharpie marker. You can use any kind of permanent marker. Don't use a water-soluble one because it's going to run. And we're going to make this our biggest circle. Leaving some room for my horn, I'm going to top just the top here, like that. Okay? And then to get the bottom half that's a little more square, I'm going to use this empty half and half to kind of do that part. And then I'm going to connect the points just by hand. Okay? Now for his feet, it's easier just to draw them. Make like a Christmas tree. Draw the bottom. And because he's a monster and you're making up his shape, if yours' shape is a little different, it will not matter. In fact, you could make a dragon if you prefer. Now let's get that eye in there. So I use this as my big head. Let's use this slightly smaller jelly jar lid and trace around that. Yep. And then keep working my way down to progressively smaller circles. I don't think I have one that size. Oh yeah, I do. Here it is. This is his pupil. And you could put as many of these circles as you want, depending on how you want his eye to look. And then we're going to have a little bit of one for the white. And then there's a little one right there that we can just draw. To get his mouth, we're going to go back to our bigger pieces here. And I'm going to make my monster a little more smiley because it's easy. Little half moons and his teeth. Very good. For his horn, you're going to use half of this circle. And then I pull it in, making sure my point comes to right there, and then I move this area over so it's a little bit fatter. And voila, I have a horn. And I can hand draw those shapes in. Now for his wings, we're going to need to alter our wings a little bit because my paper is narrower. This is oil and acrylic canvas paper that you can buy. I'm using it because it's cheaper than using a canvas. If you already have canvases, use the canvas. And you can get a little bit free form with his gold wings here. Just because It's fun, and the whole point is fun. You just use the forms if you need a help with a certain section. Whoops, I forgot to put that piece over there, so we'll just draw that in. Yes, mine looks a little different, and that is fine. Now, speaking of using tools, the reference picture that we have today is an AI picture. So I went on Adobe Firefly, which is an AI option with Adobe, and said, create me a one-eyed, one-horned flying purple people eater. And I had to ask for it a few times because it didn't always come up the way I wanted it. But it's just a fun way to see how you could get a suggested reference picture using AI. I probably would not enter this in a competition because of that. Okay, so now we're ready to paint. I drew that with permanent marker, and if I want it, well, and what I will do is just basically color within the lines as if I was doing a coloring book. You could also just use it as a suggestion and go over them a bit, and at the end put in black. And I'll show you how to do that. These are my paints that I'm going to use. We'll start with the purple. I'm using just a cheap Liquitex basic acrylics. Easy to get, inexpensive. When you're just doing this for fun and practice and playing with kids and friends and things like that, this works just fine. Now these are just craft acrylics. They're like usually 99 cents. So that's another option. It looks to me like we're going to use the dark purple first, so we'll hold off on this. I wet my brush just a little bit. I should do it here. This is going to be my dirty water, and this will be my clean water. The dirty water is where you rinse it first, and then you get it clean there. And I have a handy paper towel to be able to wipe it off. Okay, so we're just going to go straight into purple. And because this is an inexpensive acrylic, it's a little bit transparent. Heavier body acrylics would give you more coverage. So if you were doing this, like you want to do this a mural on your kid's wall or something like that, you'd want to use a little nicer brand of acrylic, a little more expensive brand that's more opaque, more heavy body. But for playing on a rainy day, this is perfect. Now when you're doing these strokes to get up near a line, you want to load your brush. I'll show you there. Load your brush with some paint. Start a little away from the line and then push the paint towards it. It is not urgent that you stay within the line. Depends on what your goal is. My goal is to have fun. The nice thing about acrylics is you can paint over them. So if you make a big mistake, let it dry and then go and paint the colors back over it. No problem. Now when I get to his mouth, I'm going to try to leave a little bit of those black lines visible. We're going to need to put the mouth back in with either the marker after the paint dries or with black paint. And today we're going to try black paint. See, I got over the line a little bit there. It's okay. If your paint is starting to feel a little bit heavy, just add a tap of water to your brush. Now because my brush marks help define where these things are, I'm leaving the feet as a second section or another section to do. When I was a kid, novelty songs were all the rage. And I'm sure a lot of you have at least heard once about the one-horned, one-eyed, one-horned flying purple people eater. If I say the whole phrase fast, I can remember it. Yours could be pink. It could have 2 horns. It could have no horns. It's up to you. This would be a really fun project just to do with friends when you want to create something, because it's an imaginary creature. There's no pressure to make it turn out and look a specific way. It'd be fun for a monster birthday party, a Halloween party. Make great wall murals in your kid's bedroom. The point I wanted to make using the lids and things and caps to make the circles. There is a bias in art that you have to draw freehand to be worth anything. And I have the same bias. But I had an art teacher one time tell me, these are just tools, and you use whatever tool you need to make the picture that you see in your head come out on paper. And I thought that was some of the best advice I'd ever heard. Okay, now we'll do his feet. So don't limit yourself just because you feel like you can't draw. You can trace a lid. You could use a series of lids and make a caterpillar. You could use boxes and lids and come up with a dragon. Pill bottles, yogurt cups, whatever things you have in your house that you end up emptying out can be washed and saved as a tool for drawing. Okay? Very good. Now, I see a lighter circle of purple around my monster's eye, so I'm going to just capitalize a bit on that and make some lighter. It's too light. Let's go that dark. Let's go a little darker. Okay, now see how my brush is a little gloopy? I'm going to wipe that off just so I have more control over where the brush is, where the paint is on the brush. And I'm not worried about this being exact. One of the secrets to making a nice smooth line is to try to make your eyes focus farther back. Don't look right down at the tip of your brush. Focus back and just make a nice smooth mark. Trust your marks. Helps a ton. Doesn't make it perfect, but it makes it serviceable, that's for sure. Okay, and then I didn't really leave room for the belly, so I'm going to just kind of give him a little fat belly. There we go. Okay. Now, wash in my dirty water first. Okay. Ugh. Can give it a little wipe. Then rinse in the cleaner water. Wipe it off. There. Relatively clean. The reference monster has green eyes. I only had blue paint on hand, so my monster is going to have a blue eye. So I just take this blue color that I happen to have on hand. I don't need a whole lot. I think I'm going to go ahead and stick with this number. This is a number 12 round. These are Cheap Joe's Golden Fleece, and they're inexpensive, and I really like how they work. And I'll use this tiny little palette knife to pull some of this out here. Wipe it off. Add some white. Okay, that's good. I like that. This just keeps me from messing my paints up quite so much. Mixing my colors when I don't want to mix that color. So in this, that's more his pupil. So I actually didn't draw the circle where the colors are, and that was just an accident. You could stop and get a lid and do it. But I'm just going to go with the flow here. I think this brush is a little big for that mark. So let's switch to a smaller, this is a number 6 flat. Makes it a little easier. Wipe that off. I'm bracing my hand where there's no paint. Okay, I've got 12 minutes. I need to speed up here a little, or we could hit the turbo button. Okay, so this eye color is not perfectly smooth. And at this point, this is up to you. If you wanted it to be much more smooth, you could let this dry and then go over it again and smooth it out. That would be the easiest thing to do. And acrylic is going to dry in a few minutes. Not fast enough for the 27-minute artist, but in a few minutes. Okay, rinse in the dirty water first, rinse in the clean water. Go back to my number 12 brush. And now I need my black. Again, this is just a craft black. Great thing about using these kind of paints is they're cheap, and you can feel like you can just use them up and it won't matter. The downside is that they're cheap, and so they're more runny, especially when you're painting on an easel like I am, up and down. That sometimes is a problem. If you're at home, you can paint on the table with it flat or slightly propped up and have a little bit easier time of it. Use the tools you have, though. Don't let the products being too expensive or you're not sure how to draw, don't let that be the thing that stops you. Find a way around it. Find a tool that will help you make the most of it. All right, now let's get some gold on those wings. Now I went and bought, it's literally metallic gold, because I thought it was so pretty and I just wanted to put that on there. We'll stick again with this 12 round because it comes to a very nice point. And it gets thin. It's not real thick. So you can put it on thin and just use the transparency to look more like gold bone, which I'm assuming his horn would be. You can let it dry and go back over it a second time so it's more solid. Those are two tools I have for making it darker. I'm kind of liking the transparency of it. It's up to you. Okay, yes, my lines got obliterated. When that dries, I can go back and put black paint, or I could take the Sharpie and just retrace my lines and it would work on that. So I'm just going to do that section. This gold paint is pretty transparent. Not sure why. I'm kind of guessing that the metallic particles that make it that color just stay suspended. They don't blend real heavily into the binder, so they kind of get light real fast. They separate. But again, I'm thinking to myself, okay, what tool do I need to make this come out the way I want? And this is working pretty good. You could use a smaller brush if it made you more comfortable. Be careful that you don't use too small of a brush, because it will make it look more tight and a little less painterly. A good trick is to use the biggest brush you're comfortable with, or even a little uncomfortable. Now I'm putting more paint on there, making it just a little heavier on my brush like that. so that when I come over here, I touch it and then I push a little harder as I get to the fatter part of the feather. And it's working pretty good. Okay. Okay, that blue is dry. That's what I was checking. Rinse in the dirty water, rinse in the clean water. Looks like I've got some black in my brush. Wipe it off. Let's go back to the white. And I keep using the same brush because I'm trying to show you a way to do it that is low cost. If you have multiple brushes and you want to switch colors so that the color in your brush doesn't mesh with the new color, go for it. You'd actually be doing it a little easier for yourself. Now I was going to paint his teeth, but they actually look really good with the white canvas showing through, and rather than mess up those teeth, I'm going to leave it. I would like to kind of blend in this part of the blue a little better. What I'm doing is just trying to make it look a little more feathery, kind of like it is in the reference picture. So I'm adding a little white and blending it on my canvas. You don't have to do this. It was just a thought. And now I'm finding it's getting a little out of control. So what I would normally do is just let that dry and go back and fix the blue in a minute. Okay, we've got 5-6 minutes, and I'm going to show you a fun way to do the background. Get my brush clean. Now, I'm going to take this blue and a little bit of the lighter blue, and I'm just going to mix it in just a little weird little skyscraper shapes like that. Now I'm going to lay that down. I'm going to take this big wide brush, fill it with white paint, and just kind of go, letting the blue touch it and go mix in with it a little bit. I'm making the cloud shapes. There's not a science to this. And as the blue mixes in with the white, and I can make a little more cloudy shapes at the edges. Let's get a little more white on there. I'm just kind of mixing. When you get close to this monster, go slower. Take the blue again. So my flying purple people eater really is flying. This is the lighter blue. Try not to get it, don't do what I just did and put marks exactly evenly apart. Try to break up where they go. Okay, lay that down, go back to the white. You don't have a whole lot of time with acrylic. It dries pretty fast. And if you were outside at a picnic table, for instance, and it's summer, it's going to really dry fast. If you put your sky on and you later don't like it, after it dries, you can go back in and change it. You could add a rainbow. You could put an airplane in there. You could do any of those things. Okay. Okay, my purple mixed in a little, so we'll have some pink clouds, which I think is fun. Now I'm going to switch back to this brush because I can get little points. Mm-hmm. Okay. Again, there's not a real hard or fast way of figuring this out. These would be fun techniques to use to make, you could make flying ships. If you have kids at home that are really into flying machines, you could, if you, like me, really like steampunk stuff, this is a great technique for making machines and imaginary things like that. So what you do is you look at your object, a picture of the object you want to make, or you imagine it yourself, and you look for basic shapes, squares, ovals, circles. You find objects around the house that at least part of it can mimic that. And then you collect them and you put them together. You build it almost like you're building Legos, but it's just lines on paper is what it is. And the sky's the limit. You can do any of this. I think I need a little more white in there. Now, because I'm hurrying and I'm doing this on camera, some of these clouds are starting to look a little, So let's throw in some purple. It's a little much, but if I wipe off my brush and add some white paint, but leave a little bit of purple in there, I can kind of blend that in a little, soften it. Okay. Now these also just need to be softened. While they're still damp. So try not to let them get too dry before you start doing what I'm doing here. These are already pretty dry up here. I'm out of time. Go have some monster fun. Would you like to see a preview of our next episode? Keep watching. It's coming in just 40 seconds. But first, here are a few things you can do to help me keep the videos coming. Hit the subscribe button below and leave a comment while you're there. Share this video on your social media or share it with a friend. You can go to my website where you'll find more painting tips, and you can buy the paintings I've created in these episodes. You can also see my fine art originals that took me way more than 27 minutes to create. Book me as a guest artist for your next gathering or convention. I do live painting demos and paint-alongs for groups of every size, either in person or via Zoom. Next time on 27-Minute Artist. Owls are easy to hear, but they're notoriously hard to spot. Next time, we'll start the project hiding the canvas under dark charcoal and then reveal the owl's hiding spot. Next time on 27-Minute Artist.